Welcome back to Take a Shot Podcast, episode 4. Let's take a shot.
Going off
Draft
the
night.
rails of the crazy
Live
train.
from KC.
Merry Draftmas to all of you
Did you get that?
that celebrate.
Crazy Train, Union Station?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay. So, today what we're going to be doing, we want to hit you with some quick NFL topics right before the draft, and then we're going to actually hit you with a little bit of a mock draft. Okay, so the Aaron Rodgers trade, that happened.
Finalize.
Okay, so the compensation for it, I'll look it up real quick. You guys talk about just what your thoughts of remembering, what was that, 2 days ago? How you thought the deal was.
So I know the compensation.
Okay.
The compensation was Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Rodgers, the 15th pick.
Yeah, they swapped first rounds.
Yep. So Aaron Rodgers, the 15th pick and a 5th round pick, go to New York in exchange for the 13th pick this year, the 42nd pick this year, and a conditional pick in next year's draft, which is a 2nd round pick as it stands. And if Aaron Rodgers plays 65% of the snaps this year, it turns into a 1st round pick, which if everything goes right, he should play 65.
Yeah, there's major problems if he doesn't.
Yeah.
Well, and then obviously in his career, he's played over, I think it was some crazy stat, over 90% of
Yeah,
snaps. Even last year, he still played.
He's had some injuries, but mainly, he's been a healthy
barring
guy.
something crazy, it's
Yeah.
going to be a 1st round pick
Yeah.
in next year's draft.
Okay, so a 2nd this year, because the pick swap, I don't really even count. Those 2 spots, it's really not that big of a deal. But because both teams, what they need is not, So as far as because I want to get your thoughts first. We texted about it a little bit, but what did you think?
So I think that Green Bay did really well for themselves. I think Green Bay got a haul. When you're thinking about a guy who's going to play 1-2 years max, you got essentially you got a 2nd round pick, a 1st round pick, and you got to move up 2 spots. Those 2 spots, maybe like you said, don't seem too crazy, but
It's like a little bonus.
Yeah, you know, that guarantees you a top 13 prospect rather than a top 15. And so if somebody falls, those 2 spots may be the make or break.
Yeah,
you were able to get.
It's a little bonus
player.
that's nice, but I don't think it's.
It's not the deal breaker,
Right.
Or the main surface. I think the main plate on that trade is essentially getting a high 2nd round pick. 42 is just outside of the 1st round. You're going to get a really good prospect there, and then you get a 1st round pick as well. Now, granted, if things go well for the Jets, that's probably a back end of the 1st round pick. But then if you're Green Bay, you're in a spot where you've got 2 1st round picks next year to really either move up for a quarterback if Jordan Love doesn't pan out, which I don't think he will. But I think they got a really good haul. From the Jets' perspective, I think it's a good move for them too.
Okay, because that's the part I was.
Yeah.
Because I didn't. If I heard you say like the Packers the steal of a deal, I'm like, yeah, they did good for themselves, but it's like they still gave up Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to play for the Packers. So for them to get what they did, like when the whole world knew that Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to play for him, I think that's a really good deal. I think what it shows for the Jets, they're all in on this year. Because there's no guarantee that Rodgers plays the 2nd season.
There's no guarantee. That's right.
He might, and the likelihood is that he does, but that's a steal for 1 to 2 years, I think. But good for the Jets.
Yeah.
So you're all in. You got to compete somehow with the Mahomeses and the Burrows and everybody else. So.
Yeah, I mean, in the same sense, like you said, you got to compete in the AFC, which is almost kind of like dumbfounding to me, the fact that you were literally the best quarterback in your division. Now you go to another division that makes you probably technically maybe 3rd, 2nd at best in that division. I mean, granted, we all saw what Tua was able to do, and if he doesn't get hurt in this concussion, I mean, Tua was borderline MVP at that point. I mean, then you have to go and compete against the Bills and Josh Allen. Granted, maybe not necessarily, the Patriots are, but the Patriots are competitive. They're never going to.
Yeah, they're not a franchise that's just going to be like,
they're never going to go 4-something. They're never going to go below. If not, they're never going to go.
As long as they have a competent quarterback, and Mac Jones isn't great, but he's competent.
And Bill Belichick, they're never going to go below 6 wins. That's
Probably,
for sure.
yeah.
I would take that in a heartbeat in a Vegas bet, anything. And then once again, it's on the AFC side. So it's Joe Burrow. I mean, it's Patrick Mahomes. It's Justin Herbert. I mean, there's Trevor Lawrence.
So real quick, Jeff. Do you get why the Jets made the move? Are you like, yeah, I would do that if I were the Jets, or?
So yeah, I guess for the, I get it in the aspect that in all the years that you've drafted quarterbacks, you haven't hit on a single one, and this
Pretty
is
much,
the only thing that makes sense for them because it's all like, wow, we have just completely Geno Smith, Zach Wilson. I mean, who is it?
Sam Darnold, and then before that, Mark Sanchez. So they had success at the early on, but he
Yes.
wasn't really the
Yeah, it
driving
was all
factor.
different coaching staff. Rex Ryan.
He was a game manager.
I would even
Yeah.
say that defense is a little bit better than the defense that they have.
Oh,
now.
for sure.
Terrell
I,
Reeves.
I think
Bart Scott.
Yeah.
the was it projection of this defense can get as good as them because Sauce Gardner, guys like that.
Yeah.
I think it can
Quentin
get,
Williams.
Yes,
Yeah.
it can get as good as them, but in the same sense, yeah,
They haven't proven that
You know what I'm
yet.
saying? Yeah, Bart Scott, you know what I'm saying, can't wait.
Yeah.
This and that was
Yeah.
That's how I feel about 20, 30 minutes from
Yeah.
now. I can't wait.
Can't wait.
But in the same sense, yeah, that's the only benefit I give the Jets is because it's all like, man, we have just tanked it on quarterbacks in the last, 10?
Probably further than that if we're really digging
Of
in.
drafting quarterbacks. in
Yeah,
the
honestly,
first
like
round?
he said, it's honestly Joe Namath was the last. Seriously, he's the last guy they had.
Wait,
that
when was the last guy that you were like, man, the Jets really got a good quarterback?
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. And people, by the way, people dog that move. They're like, "Oh, that was a big mistake." They started 8-3. They were
Until he got, I think
he got a little banged up, and he
Yes,
still
yes,
played. And that's
yes.
the Brett Favre thing is he was going to play through the injury.
I
But
mean, he was
yes,
on the cover of Madden. I mean, come on.
yeah. Well, that's the thing. He had
Also
a.
sent some dick pics. New York did it really well.
What's the big deal?
Crotchless Wranglers.
But if I'm the Jets, I think this is a good move in the sense of like you're pushing kind of what you said. You're pushing your chips to the middle of the table. You're like, we're going to try to compete this year and next year. And so you said that you think that it's basically kind of a 2-year thing. I get the whole. If he's thinking about retirement, he doesn't have long. I get that part. That being said, he also said he's like, I'm trying to condition my body where like I have the possibility if I'm still enjoying football, still enjoying this thing, I can play until my early 40s.
He's a weird cat. We can all agree on that.
Did you
right?
see
He's
him?
different.
Did you see him at the press conference though?
Yeah.
He seemed happy.
Yes, he was.
He did.
I think he was happy for a change. I think he liked who he's working with. I think he likes. He mentioned multiple times he's really a fan of Robert Saleh as a coach. He likes him. He's got his buddy Nathaniel Hackett back as his offensive coordinator. He knows the system.
Well,
So
and let's be honest, he has a lot of power and a lot of say.
yep.
I mean, look, they went out and
Yeah.
got, Alan Lazard.
I don't like that. I don't like that.
Well,
You don't agree with it?
I
I
don't.
don't because of the fact that we're not talking about Mahomes. We're not talking about Brady. We're not even talking about Manning. You know what I mean? And granted, Aaron Rodgers will be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
And he's great. And he's great. But he's not
but
Peyton
the
Manning.
fact that you have that much say, it's all like at a certain point.
Because Peyton had the every year statistically
Yes.
I'm going to be great and
Yes.
every year I'm going to be professional and I'm going to give us a shot.
It's
to win
just
this
Brady
year.
always beat me.
Early on in their career, yes. Later on in their career, no. But yeah, I get what you're saying. That Brady had the better defense most of the time up until he got to
It's just,
Denver. Yeah.
the Patriots were just always in the way.
So-
it just seemed like.
This is something that I wanted to bring up that I thought was just interesting. So I'm going to list some names and do a little exercise with you guys.
Get it.
So you got, in the AFC for quarterbacks, you got Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Lawrence, Rodgers, Jackson, Watson, Tua.
Yeah.
One of those guys,
Wait, you forgot David Mill?
Davis
Mills.
Mills,
Yeah.
the Texans quarterback.
Wait a second.
two of those guys that I just said are not making the playoffs this year. Let that sink in for a minute.
Can I see your list again?
Yeah. Two of those guys are not making the playoffs this year. That's how stacked the AFC is at quarterback.
Well, and then once again, that brings back to my topic. It's all like the Bears, and I said this during the first podcast, the Bears have the perfect example of re-evolutionizing that team. We saw it with Jalen Hurts. We saw it with, who else did they put talent around their actual quarterback to go and achieve. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, so on and so forth. That's the only thing that I will admit is that in that division, you had it. You had it. Minnesota, once again, there's like 11 or 10 or 11 games that they do this every year. Every single year. Last year, they won those games by, I think it's like a 2.5 margin. The year before, they didn't make the playoffs because it's the same script with them.
Yeah.
This year, Well, if history repeats itself, Minnesota's not going to be that team this year.
So I agree with you that the NFC North is an easier division to win. That being said, I think Aaron Rodgers is in a better place as far as no. Seriously, think about it. He's got kind of a similar offensive weapons. Like you can swap Garrett Wilson for Christian Watson because Christian Watson was coming on last year, and Garrett Wilson's a young wide receiver that looks really good. He's got Alan Lazard, like he moved over to the Jets. He's got some decent tight ends. He's got C.J. Uzomah and some other guys, whatever. And his offensive line, the Jets actually played pretty well last year with their offensive line. They did. Zach Wilson just kind of screwed everything up. But their defense, the Packers had a solid defense, I guess, but did not have this level of defense.
Yes, you called me out on it I think it was either the last podcast or the podcast before. But yes, that's the only determination of the Jets right now is because Rodgers does not have to go out and score 35 points.
I think if he gets like 21 a game,
yes,
that
they're
probably
gonna be
21,
really good.
24, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? And that's what they brought in Rodgers to do for this team this year.
Don't screw this up. Be the leader that we need. And I know he's not the
But
best
what was the record?
of the Jets last year.
Yes,
seven and 10,
7 and
I
10?
think. Yeah,
7 and
they
10?
started off good, but they just faltered at the end. They
So
couldn't
what
win
do
the
you
game.
think you know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the real question. Okay,
So here's the question that I was going to ask, giving you guys those 9 names there, and that's not even assuming that another team, maybe like the Steelers take a big jump this year. I'm not a huge Kenny
is this a
Pickett
Chael
fan.
Sonnen question? Where does Aaron Rodgers fit into all this?
No, my question is so
He does
there's
that with Kevin Lee.
there's those 9 quarterbacks that I just listed in 9
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
Which 2 teams aren't making the playoffs this year? Now, obviously, this is before the draft, so who do you think out of those 9 aren't going to make
And
the playoffs?
name the 9 again.
You've got Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and Tua.
Well, Deshaun and Tua.
Okay, I have my answers.
If I'm definitively picking it right now, it's Tua and Watson.
I think that's a safe answer.
That's probably the safe answer. I'm going to go surprise. I am going to go Tua just because his health, I am concerned. Because one more hit, I don't see that everyone's going to be like, just give him another couple of weeks, he'll be okay. I don't think that's going to happen.
He gets another concussion. He's probably just
Right.
done.
And the other one for me, the wild card that I think the team's going to falter is the Chargers. I'm not sold that they're making it back to the playoffs next year.
Yeah, and
They're having a deal with Austin Eckler where they don't want to pay him, and he's like he's one of your most valuable pieces that they don't realize, I guess.
And that's not even to assume, like I said, that another AFC team,
Yeah.
does something significant. I could see a world where, Kenny Pickett plays average with the weapons that he's got, and that defense.
You can book the
Props
Steelers
him
for
up.
like 7 wins, right? You can book it.
the
That
same
they're going to
with the
find a way to.
Patriots. Same with the Patriots.
They're going to
Yes.
find a way to win that many games.
It's just crazy to think about like how stacked that group is. That 2 of those guys aren't going to make.
Yeah.
Not forget about competing for a Super Bowl. They're not even going to make the playoffs.
AFC's tough. I want to get to Jeff's point. So he basically asked, like, okay, they got Aaron Rodgers. Like, what do you think they're actually going to do this year, like projection wise?
But besides that, just to carry on with when you asked me the original question, the only thing is that, I mean, personally, besides the aspect, and I can see both sides. Obviously, yeah. Once again, you drafted all these quarterbacks, you couldn't find it. So now you find an actual veteran quarterback that's won a Super Bowl. He's been to what?
And he's only
2? Or has he been?
He's only been to 1 Super Bowl. But he's been to multiple NFC Championship games. I think like 4, and he's only 1 year removed from being the back-to-back MVP.
So once again, you only have that to go off of, and I get it. Other quarterbacks have played there, Brett Favre, so on and so forth. I mean, but to me, I feel like the Packers could have got a lot more instead of drawing out this situation with him and going through this dilemma with him for so many years and him wanting to leave and what are we going to do, blah, blah, blah. And the same thing with the Jets. I mean, I'm signing a 39-year-old quarterback that I'm putting I'm giving him the keys to the city.
You think he's too old for them to have done
I'm
that?
not saying he's too old, but in the same sense, it'd be a different aspect, say right now, because the projection, we've talked about this, all of us, especially you and me, the projection. We're not talking about the Rams here, where it was all like McVay, Stafford, you know what I'm saying, Odell Beckham, we're all in.
Mm-hmm.
Look at them now. I'm like, if you do not complete the Super Bowl, if you do not, you just wasted. You wasted the time, the money, the effort, and everything.
They'd have to if this Aaron Rodgers experiment doesn't work. Let's say he does 2 years, and then it's like they didn't even like win a playoff game. Obviously, you would call that a failure. Now, their defense is so young that you can try to get somebody else in there.
And we're not.
But then you're starting to spend money.
But we're not talking.
They're
about,
spending money anyway.
That's what I'm saying. At
starting
this
next
point,
year.
we're not just talking about the playoffs. We're talking about this has to be a Super Bowl. This has to be, plain and simple.
They have all the ingredients. I think they have the ingredients.
And you might be right because the rookie halfback, what's his name?
Brees Hall. Yep.
So on and
Everyone around Rodgers is young.
Yes.
Everyone's young.
So to add to Jeff's point here, and to kind of add some validity there, I don't know if you guys saw this. The Packers converted Aaron Rodgers.
His salary.
His salary this year from basically $48 or $49 million into a 1 year, $1 million.
Yep.
So that's all he's counting against for the cap.
So the cap's going to hit next year.
What that means is his cap number next year is over $100 million.
But it allows them this year to we can still
add some pieces.
Yeah.
But what that does for their future is they're going to have to add void years to the end of that, meaning that they're going to be paying Aaron Rodgers for the next 4 or 5 years after he retires. So, anyways, let's move away from the Aaron Rodgers.
No. We got one last thing. Let's just cut straight to the chase.
Because of the fact of time.
I know, but let's cut straight to the chase. I just want real quick, no explanations. Just what you think. Where do you think they end up if they do make the playoffs? What round do they exit in?
They win the wild card round, lose in the divisional round.
Yeah.
That's what you
I
got
was
too?
about to say. I think in that division with the teams that they're going up against, so on and so forth, I think it boosts them to 3 or 4 wins. If this is
So you think they get to like 10 or 11?
yes,
Okay.
Because then I look at it, they're not going to beat the Chiefs, they're not going to beat the Bills, and they're not going to beat the Bengals.
Okay,
in the playoffs.
well, real quick, they already split with the Bills last year, so I think with Aaron Rodgers, I think they had a better chance. And real quick, I'll just say this: I think AFC Championship game in Arrowhead, we see the Jets, and I think they win that division. That's my hot take. But yes, I think we win.
Very hot.
I think we win. All right, transition. Move to the next topic.
Real quick, and
Yeah.
we got to keep this one real quick. Lamar got paid today.
Yep, good for him. Happy that he's staying with the team.
He got
Excellent.
5 years, $260 million, and $180 million.
So real quick, that's less than what Lamar got guaranteed, or Jalen Hurts guaranteed, right? Or am I wrong?
It's more.
He got more guaranteed.
Yeah, more total and more guaranteed.
He got more total as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jalen only got $250. He got.
So now Lamar's the highest paid guy.
He's the highest paid player in the NFL.
Here's what I'll disagree with. Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson.
As of right now,
Yeah. But that being said, good for Lamar. He did get his money.
I
So
think it's good for him and
the Ravens, yes, because once the pieces started to fall, you really are. The Ravens are not in a position to draft a quarterback this year that's like going to be good enough. So it's like if you didn't have Lamar, what's your alternative? You just like.
That's another team, though. It's just like the Steelers and the Patriots that we talked about. It's all like, even without Lamar, I still think with Huntley.
You think they're good for like 7 wins?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, what's the point of creating this turmoil between you two through this whole offseason? It's once again, it's another Aaron Rodgers story. It's another Aaron Rodgers story.
I would have preferred if the Ravens got him on a cheap deal, because that's the thing. I don't think he should be setting the record for like the most anyone's gotten paid. I don't think he's that good.
No.
But
Not even close. I wish it was the Chiefs.
Right.
The Chiefs organization would have said, "All right, see you later." If not, they would have traded him. They would have done anything possible.
right, because we're not even paying Patrick Mahomes that much.
No.
So
Which is weird to me and doesn't make sense to me.
because Patrick's a good guy and he understands that whatever he's losing out of like the most money he could make, he's making it up in commercials, and then on top of that, it allows us a little more
So
flexibility.
when
to
Harbaugh
spend.
goes back to that, you know what I'm saying? He's calling the play calls. And the fact that Lamar's getting paid this money and they have a beef between each other about the play calls, so on and so forth. What do you think the season's going to end up because of the fact that just because of the longevity of this contract situation, Lamar had tweeted and said things about this organization about whether or not they don't, they're lying about things. When you do that, you're not just, you know what I mean?
you think it's going to have a ripple effect?
Oh, yeah, exactly. I think it's a turmoil within the organization.
I think they can make the playoffs still, but I don't think
with that division.
Right.
Yeah.
But I don't really think they got another like deep postseason run in them,
no.
because now
No.
you had Lamar on a cheap contract. He was on his rookie contract, right? And now you're paying him top dollar. It's like you're going to have to lose. They already lost Calais Campbell, but basically guys like that, the veterans, you're like, hey, that guy's a really good piece. You got to get rid of all those guys.
Yep.
So they're already paying Roquan Smith that they got from the Bears. They're paying him now. So I don't know. I don't think the Ravens can build a contender around Lamar. I don't. But.
So overall, both situations to me, I'm not gonna lie, both thumbs down on both sides of Green Bay and the Jets, and then both thumbs down on the Ravens and Lamar.
So you're just boo on everything.
Yeah.
Boo!
Yeah.
So
If I had a Madden team on franchise right now, this is not how I'd run my organization.
So where do you guys want to go? You want to go to the mock draft? You want to talk some Chiefs and then go to the mock draft?
Well,
We're
the Chiefs topic, we can make it.
60-50.
We can make the Chiefs real quick.
Yep.
So real quick, just to throw out maybe one or two names that you're like hoping that we get with 31.
I'll go first because
Yeah.
I'm really excited. So I'll tell you right now, the Chiefs are not picking 31 tonight. The Chiefs are trading up.
Same here.
The Chiefs are 100% trading up. How far is the question?
Who is it?
Yeah, who's the guy that you got your eye on?
There's two guys. So if they decide to go wide receiver, they're going to trade up for Zay Flowers. Love him.
We agree.
Love his profile.
We agree.
If and I think this is actually the more likely story tonight. I think they're going to try to build through the trenches and they're going to look at a defensive lineman.
I do too.
And I feel that if Miles Murphy starts to drop, that's their guy that they're going to target and they're going to move up. A great impact defensive end who is more athletic than any defensive end that they've had since they brought in Frank Clark the year that they traded for
Doesn't
him.
he fit a little bit more of the scheme of Spags too?
He does. He's a bigger guy. Spags likes bigger, heavier weight, longer arm guys, and Miles Murphy fits that, and he's an athletic freak.
Okay, so that's both of yours? Well,
Yeah.
real quick, I want to respond to something. So I've been hearing that Tyree Wilson, some people have him as far as an overall prospect, as far as freak of nature. They have him as like a top 5 prospect.
Yep.
Now, I've also seen other people like projecting him to slide for whatever reason. I think he had an injury or whatever in the
Yep,
season.
he did.
If Tyree Wilson's available, would you trade up for him?
It depends on how far he slides because I think his slide stops around 10 to 12,
Yes.
and I'm not willing to go up that high.
I was hearing that he might fall to like Washington at 16. Like, would you trade? Like, if he was sitting there at
If
16,
he's there at 16, yeah, I'm
Okay.
At this point, Washington is screwing up their whole.
they don't even have an ownership really right
Well,
now.
and then they didn't sign the 5th-year option of
Chase Young, which he's a talent, but he's been hurt, and it's
yeah,
not.
but he doesn't have a history.
But
Of it.
I'm also
not-
weary, like, if a Tyree Wilson does make it all the way to 16.
Yeah, you're like,
there's
what do
been
they-
op-
what do they
What
know?
do they know that I
Yeah.
don't?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
one, I don't think he's going to, but two, I'm starting to ask myself, like, why don't these other teams?
So
Was
in
there
your-
another
your-
one? Was there another one you said?
No. So your
you just-
order is Zay Flowers first, and
No, it'd be Miles Murphy.
Miles Murphy.
first,
So you want first, and then
yeah,
Zay Flowers.
Zay Flowers.
Okay.
And then you were just
Well, I'm gonna go last. You go ahead.
oh okay.
I already know who Joe is.
Obviously, yeah, Darrell Wright from Tennessee, the offensive tackle. We already talked about this. I'd rather protect Mahomes than have the weapons for Mahomes. So obviously, offensive tackle. Yeah, we talked about that with Orlando Brown, this and that. You got to protect him, the ankle, this and that. Granted, it might be fine, so on and so forth, but I don't want to always have to rely on
If you brought in
Mahomes.
Darnell Wright, you instantly have.
Yes, exactly.
So he's
Best
also,
offensive
he's
line.
also projected to be kind of like a mid-round pick.
20,
so
21.
would you trade up
yes,
for him?
Yes, I
Okay.
think instant starter. If not, he gives the competition to
Lucas Niang.
Lucas Niang. So
Oh, I didn't think it was a competition.
And
If you
then-
bring Darnell Wright in, he's your
yeah,
safe
Brett
right
Beach,
tackle.
he loves Lucas Niang, and
Yeah.
we talked about it. But Beach kind of gives those little hints. I'm not gonna lie. The one thing I will admit right now, before we go too far, is Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
I don't want a 180-pound.
Okay, so you're off this. You're,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
okay.
How much you weigh?
Me, 165.
How much you weigh?
240.
How? I weigh 185, one maybe 90.
What?
Fluctuate this and that.
Damn, I'm fat.
I do not want. a slot receiver. He's never going to be one-on-one. He's never going to be the guy on the
He
outside.
can play the outside.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not in the NFL. Not in the NFL.
He projects that.
Once again,
Jeff. So I agree with both of you in a way. He has the skill set where he knows how to like beat people deep. He knows he's a really great route runner, according to what people say about him. But I get what Jeff's saying. That's kind of like, Jeff. Would you agree? What we actually need
Is a bigger receiver.
correct. I think that's what
It
he's.
is a risk to take another smaller
Yeah.
receiver. But I am just so in love with the
I
prospect
agree. I
of
agree.
Zay Flowers.
Dude, here's all I needed to know. Steve Smith, I heard him break down. Steve Smith, the former wide receiver of the Panthers, he broke down every single receiver that's projected to maybe be in the first round, and he basically said, Zay Flowers, if I have to put my money on one guy, it's that guy.
first of all, the factor of that he plays in the ACC, the talent and the competition that he has to go against. You're going guys against Rutgers.
Oh, they moved to the Big Ten, but I agree with you. It's just stuff like
You're going against NC State.
Syracuse, yeah, stuff like that.
Clemson, even then this year, Clemson, their defense was not even remotely close to the fact that.
So I agree with this. You and I talked about the SEC being like the powerhouse.
Yeah.
So again, this doesn't make it any better from a film perspective, but Zay Flowers did have offers to transfer in his senior year to go to other programs, to where he could have played in the SEC.
That
but
means nothing to me.
it doesn't to you, but the loyalty means a little something to me because he said, "No, I want to see this through. I decided to go to Boston College and I want to stay here."
So real quick, I'm not gonna talk about what I think we could as far as trading up. I think we probably stand pat, honestly. And if because there's a lot of good prospects that I think are going to fall to 31. So I think we do try to take the best available. And as far as our needs, how I have them ranked, I got to go defensive end. I think is our top. Now that I've thought about it, I think defensive end. There's a lot of guys on that D line that are going to fall that I feel like. So if a Tyree Wilson falls, I don't think he falls to 31. I don't think there's any way that happens. But
Zero chance.
But like Lucas Van Ness or any of these other guys, the guy that I sent a video yesterday about, Keon White, I looked at his tape. I like what I see. He's a little raw, but he's got some like freaking nature. Not
he's super
Tyree
raw.
Wilson.
He's super raw.
Yeah, not Tyree Wilson, but
You put that steak on the grill and you flipped it once and twice after a second.
But I like
and that steak's 25 years old.
it's fine. I don't. That doesn't bother me. But I like that. And then the wide receiver, I would say, I don't think Zay Flowers gets to us. But like people, there's a lot of people that are low on Quentin Johnston. So that's my thing. Is Quentin Johnston? No. He's not the best wide receiver in the draft because he's missing a lot of things. But I'm saying if he falls to us and you don't have to trade up and give up more draft compensation, take him.
I told Jeff this on the way here. Johnson's not a receiver I trade up for, but if he falls to 31,
yeah.
I'm
You
like
happy
it.
with it.
Yeah.
It's easily because then once again the comparisons to him that I kind of relate to and we talked about it MVS, but then he's what? How old? 22. This and that. The projection and you know what I'm saying. You can develop Andy Reid. I trust in Andy.
He's
Reid.
got good speed.
I trust in Andy Reid a lot.
He's got good speed and he's got the
Yes.
height, and that's the thing. I've heard people say he body catches. I get that. I've heard people say he doesn't always fight for something. I get all that. You can teach those things, and maybe you don't have you can't teach heart necessarily, but you can teach a lot of the things that he has. You can't teach Zay Flowers to be bigger, and I get that's not his build anyway, but you know what I'm saying? You can't teach size, you can't teach all that stuff. So I'd be willing to take a bet that Andy Reid, who's been around Terrell Owens and some of the best, and Tyreek Hill,
Coach him up.
yeah, I think he'd coach him up. All right.
So where I'd like to end this podcast real quick, I know we wanted to do a mock draft.
We're
I
good.
don't know if we have time for that. Well, what I want
Gates
to get
Barbecue.
where I'm more of an Oklahoma Joe's guy, Z-Man sandwich.
Arthur Bryant's, I was raised on it. That's my thing.
Where I would like to end this draft, because we all agreed that this is where the draft really begins tonight, is pick number 2.
Oh, just okay, throw out what we.
Who do you think is going number 2, and what's happening at number 2 tonight?
Jeffrey, I'll let you go first.
Okay, because obviously me and Caleb talked about this earlier. So the whole aspect of you don't get a lot of time as a head coach. Granted, I think D'Amico Ryan's got 5-6 years.
On his
So obviously
contract,
they're giving him a little leeway.
It's all BS.
It
They're
is
giving him a
nothing.
little leeway. So if you really want to put all your
They're probably
chips
going to fire him after 1 year, just like they've been doing.
Lovie Smith, yeah.
David Coley.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you really want to put all your chips in, and I talked to him about this, you got to build a foundation. So obviously you got to start on one aspect when you're that type of franchise, and you got to start building before you get on to the next one. You can't just offensive guard, offensive, you can't just start building bricks, laying bricks on this side and this, so on and so forth. And I get the aspect of this guy has a job and he wants a career. D'Amico Ryans as the head coach. It wouldn't surprise me if they just bit their tongues and he did it for the actual just
Despite people.
well, not even just to spite people, just to keep his job, and the safe pick is C.J. Stroud.
Okay, that's who I would take. I've watched highlights and real
But
quick.
is that what you think is going to happen?
Well, I think that is going to happen. What I agree with is them to start defensively and then go it from there. That's my opinion.
What
So you
I
think C.J. Stroud?
Yeah, I kind of just feel like
Chris, what do you think?
What I would do is I would take C.J. Stroud because when I watched the highlights, I was not impressed. And this is kind of separate, but I was not impressed with Bryce Young. Whatever people are saying about him, he's what I said was he's a slower. He's a slower version and not as big of an arm as Kyler Murray. I watched a lot of times where he would be like, "Oh, I'll scramble around, I'll get around this person," and I watched his speed. He has college level speed. He does not have NFL speed. So his mobility, real problem. I see a lot of Tua connections as far as what it's actually gonna be like. Not that Tua was ever mobile, but I think he's gonna get banged up. I really do, and I don't. You're investing. I think he'll be a good quarterback for 6-7 years, but I think that's kind of his
So who
window.
the Texans draft?
I got C.J. Stroud. I think that's who they should take. What they will do, if they are going to take defense, Will Anderson, I've heard that like people's give him he's a 90% Khalil Mack. Why would you take that with the number 2 pick? Just take the chance on Jalen Carter and be like, we want a guy that's going to be super special. Go ahead.
So I think that they will take Will Anderson.
Okay.
I think they still get their quarterback tonight.
At pick 12?
I think they're going to trade up from 12 because their quarterback is not going to make it to 12. I think they're going to end the night having Will Anderson, and they're going to get another Will Levis. They're going to move up and take him probably around 8. I think a trade with the Falcons makes some sense there.
Okay.
You said they're at 2 and 12.
2 and 12, he's saying they'd basically take, you said Will Anderson at 2, and then at the 12, they'd move that, and they'd maybe move, I don't know, one of the thing. And
Yeah,
then move up.
maybe a second or a third.
Just
Yeah.
a heads up, I've seen a lot of projections of that 12th pick getting traded for a lot of teams that kind of need him.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea of get you a top 5 prospect as far as like, man, this guy's can't miss or whatever on your defense, and then also still get your quarterback.
Yeah, in the same sense we just talked about the Jets. I mean, why not build that defense into an elite defense and then
But I feel like they've done that.
get your quarterback?
I feel like they've done
The
that.
Texans?
Oh no, the Jets.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Texans, they got work everywhere. They need help everywhere.
Yeah, I mean.
But
yeah.
all right, are we ready to wrap this
Let's
up?
go watch some
All
draft.
right, let's
fellas.
watch some draft. Episode 4. Have a good one, guys.